everybody, my name is Jack Jansen, here for CrappyPasta101, with my special,
Crappy pasta.
with my special bro here, or bud, or whatever you want to call him, partner, whatever, Anthony Mario Tasso. Okay, I don't have applause or anything, but he also owns this account as well, and what we basically do is go over each terrible creepypasta, also known as crappy pastas, for those pastas that are smelling less than fresh. Anyways, we're going over the newest crappy pasta, the Colorado fishing trip, which sounds already creepy, but
Horrible.
whatever. But
It sounds like they just documented their greatest trip with weird weather.
yeah,
So we're gonna read this
no
to you,
spoilers.
alright guys?
We're just gonna go overview and comment on each paragraph, but we're gonna start at the 1 minute mark, which is right now. Our trip started in late February, as my three friends, John, Steve, Max, Cliche, and I drove in my truck deep in the backwoods of Boxwood Gulch to follow the North Fork. Okay, North Fork. I'm eating north of the South Platte River.
River.
Steve owns a cabin up in the back country, so we left my truck there and began our 57-mile hike into the wooded terrain into the falling
Okay,
of the river.
let me
Okay,
start this
first
one
off,
off. Why
first
would
off,
you
face
why would you walk that 57 miles when you could just drive it?
I know, right? And 57 miles? That's long for
Pretty
a
far.
car.
That's bigger than Catalina Island.
I know, that's just too big. You can't go out for that long.
Plus, why would a wooden terrain go that far into the woods?
It wouldn't. That's why this is such a crappy pasta. But
Alright.
okay, go.
We had all our camping and fishing gear packed and enough food to hopefully last us the 3-day journey both ways. As we first set out in the early morning, a few light snowflakes began to fall. The terrain was heavily wooded and uneven, making for slow going. The cool mountain air rustled through the trees and sunlight streamed through the canopy, making the snowflakes glint and shimmer as birds chirped overhead and the river babbled in the distance. It was going to be a near perfect trip.
A near perfect trip would have you hike 57 miles, not noticing that you'd be sore the whole time, so you wouldn't be able to do anything. Also noting that the food that you have is able to have you survive for 3 days. That's not possible. You can't travel 57 miles in 3 days. In 3 days. It's too long.
Because you're gonna have to take like naps. You're gonna have to set up camp, sleep there, like take breaks, have water breaks. Do all that.
Oh, and this was created by Dirtbutt. So if you want to follow him somewhere where we have no idea where to follow him, his name's Dirtbutt. So don't expect any.
Dirt butt.
So don't expect any other millions of people to be called that. So yeah,
So
I'll
this
go
guy
now.
is legit.
Yeah, we stopped for a quick rest a few hours in. So remember, they slept during sunny weather. Okay, now the weather had been.
It became snowy.
Yeah, the weather had been
It's sunny.
slowly worsening since we had left, but only then we had realized how bad it gotten. Okay, so sunny. A few hours later, it had gotten bad. The snow was whipping around us in a blinding fury as the wind howled. Wait a minute. So a few hours later, it's already like a blizzard? This is stupid already. Making the trees and creeks sway, almost threatening to snap in two. The ground had already accumulated to a good 6 inches of snow. That's right.
Not good.
That's right, kids. If you wait 3 hours in a nap in the middle of freaking nowhere, you will get in 6 inches of snow and eventually die. If you decide
Plus,
to go.
he says a good 6 inches of snow. That's not good. Quote, quote, good.
Cliche. It was
Extremely, quote, good.
Easter egg.
Just like underline good.
It was about midday, but the sky was black. And
I don't
mean
even
dark
know.
due
And I
to the
don't mean dark due to the ever intensifying storm. I mean that in between the gaps in the clouds, there was no blue. Just solid black.
None of us really made a note of it at the time. It was hard to notice through the thick cascade of snow and the limited visibility. After continuing our hike for some time, however, it became all too apparent that something was wrong. Really? You're not noticing that you're out in the middle of freaking nowhere, traveling 57 miles. I'm sorry, I could go about the 57-mile thing all day. And noticing that
short and sweet.
okay, so the sky is black. So Okay, so the sky mysteriously turned black when it turned freaking 2 p.m. or 2 in the afternoon. Okay, that's just stupid. Alright? Just stupid. It's a child word, I know, but I've been using it a lot.
In addition to the sky, we also realized that there was nothing in the distance.
Huh? Okay. Okay. There should have been some mountains or something like there had been at the start, but no matter which way we turned, the world only seemed to extend 50 or so feet around us. Then it disappeared into the blizzard.
That's a cliche number to use. 50?
Yeah. 50. Extend to 50 or so feet around us. Cliche saying. Or metaphor. Or symbol.
Alright.
Or whatever.
Whatever, that's not a matter.
Just go.
It was nighttime now. Or at least it was dark out, but it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, 2 o'clock and it's dark out in the sky. Or is like a necromancer?
Is God turning on them?
Or is there a lunar eclipse happening right now or something?
It can't be a lunar eclipse.
Who cares? As we walked forward, new things slowly came into view, but everything behind us disappeared magically. And although we could progress further, I said 30, we couldn't seem to double back, which I have no idea what that means. Once we left something behind us, we couldn't reach it again. Steve had forgotten his lighter a little while back when we stopped to eat. Well, you're screwed. But when we tried to turn around and go back, we were greeted by a wall of snow and fog, impossible to see through.
Our flashlight's beam didn't penetrate the fog.
That's what she said.
They stopped as if it was a physical wall. Again, that's what she said. Curious, Steve reached out and moved his hand into the fog.
That's what she said. I mean,
first his fingertips, then his whole hand disappeared into the haze. That's what she said. We all stood in disbelief looking at this wall, which was impossibly tall and extended as far as we could see. That's what she said. There was no real gradient to it. Things didn't fade in the distance. There was a clear line where the wall began, and nothing was visible beyond that point. That's what she said. We were making a note of this when Steve muttered something.
What was that? I asked. I can't feel my hand. I'm freaking out, man. He said slowly, as if he was realizing as he said it. Okay, so I said it completely wrong. It was like, I can't feel my hand. He said slowly, as if realizing he had a puzzle. He retracted his hand slowly and then screamed. His glove. Oh my god, my hand! His glove was shredded, almost disintegrated, and his hand looked like it had been forced through a wood chipper. Because you got frostbite, you idiot! Deep gashes revealed white bone underneath, and what fingers were left were stripped clean. We all panicked because you got frostbite.
Bones are underneath your skin, so yeah, it's pretty obvious. There's white bone under your skin.
Oh god, oh god, this is bad, Max cried. Go.
Alright.
You're up.
Steve simply stood clutching what was left to his hand and hyperventilating. We had to get him to a hospital or he would certainly bleed to death.
How do you get to a hospital when you're in the middle of nowhere? Idiots.
But we were almost a day's walk from Steve's cabin, which was already remote enough. We were all frantically checking our phones for a signal when the worst happened. Why would there be a signal 57 miles deep into
a darkness, into a
forest.
Dark blizzard at 2 afternoons? Seriously. Steve fainted. His eyes closed, his legs buckled, and he fell forward into the fog. None of us noticed at first, but when we finally did, all we could see were his legs protruding from the mist. We immediately, without thinking, rushed to pull him out with Gradgen's legs and dragged him into the view. Before we even saw him, however, we immediately regretted doing so. We somehow knew what we would find. Oh, yeah, because you found the hand?
The thing we dragged out was not Steve anymore. All of his skin was cleaved off, his ribcage ripped open with his entrails spilling out. It's disgusting. And his face, it haunts me to this day. Not merely because it's horrendously mutilated, not merely because his eyes have been torn out, leaving only empty sockets.
Mutilation was meant to my Doug Ratman, everybody. Give him a round of applause for saving Chell from Portal 2.
But because it smiled at me, a big wide smile that started small, but the gashes in his face allowed to literally stretch from ear to ear.
Whoa, that's creepy, but it's crappy.
Creepy crappy.
Max screamed and shoved Steam's mangled body back into the fog. Hey, you're such a great friend.
Wow, what a great friend.
We ran as fast as we could, only the way we could, deeper into the woods, just as before. The snow and fog parted before us, but swallowed up everything we left behind. As we ran and ran, the scenery around us began to slowly change. The trees surrounding us were now withered and dead. The grass was flattened and bleached. Okay, first off, I think they're either doing drugs or just I don't know.
Idiot.
Just go.
In fact, everything around us was dead. Colors had all but disappeared, leaving only shades of gray and an intensified feeling of loneliness and death. While we ran, I realized something. Guys, I shouted while I ran, not daring to stop for even a minute. We can't turn around and go straight back, but maybe we could circle around back to Steve's cabin.
When
we
did you
get
even
the truck
get
and
there?
Get the heck out of there.
Okay.
What? 20 minutes, okay? Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he still has a bedtime. John and Max nodded their heads, and we turned 90 degrees right and continued running. Eventually, we ran through what appeared to be a herd of deer, all of which were laying on the ground, gray and lifeless, hacked to pieces, blood soaked to the ground. As we ran through the herd, dodging corpses, it was hard not to notice that their dead, lifeless eyes seemed to follow us. Creepy, but crappy. When we felt confident enough, we wouldn't be doubling back on ourselves. Turned towards Steve's cabin, towards safely. I'm gonna finish this quickly. We ran for at least another hour. Eventually, however, none of us could run any longer. Our bodies simply wouldn't allow it, and we were forced to stop. After some time, Max, John, and I managed to get a fire going, despite the snow and damp tinder. We had hoped that it would bring some sense of warmth and security, but we were wrong. The
flames were a bright orange hue, bleeding some color into the grayscale world.
I'm gonna finish this quickly.
It clearly did not belong, nor did we.
The longer the flames crackled and popped,
it's my turn.
Fine.
The
Read it
longer
quickly,
the flames
though. I
crackled
don't have
and
much time
popped,
left.
the more it became hear something distant and quiet at first, but slowly growing closer and louder and more numerous. A chorus of blood-curdling wails and moans filled the air around us. Focused on the fire, pretending to be safe, mesmerized by its own beauty, we didn't immediately notice a mangled deer carcass slowly dragging itself out from the fog and into the view. Nor did we notice the second nor the third.
Zombie. Element 115 reference. Finally, we snapped out of our trance just in time to scramble our feet in terror of a different animal carcasses climbed out of the fog.
I jumped in the fire because this is just creeping me out.
We were intruders in their world, which is kind of like Sonic EXE. I was paralyzed by fear, unable to breathe. I turned to my friends to find that they were no longer beside me. They had taken off running, leaving me behind. And I turned around to run after them, but something grabbed me by my shoulder. I didn't need to turn around to know what it was. I could tell by a hand that looked like it had gone through a wood chipper.
It's Steven!
I flailed and managed to free myself before I could get a good grip on me, and I took off running. I didn't look back. I didn't see what the face was of my once friend. I could no longer see John or Max, and I assumed they must have been ahead of time. But I was the one with the keys to the truck to the Steve. How can you run 57 miles to the cabin? They wouldn't be any safer if I couldn't meet up with them. So I ran and ran faster for longer than any human could possibly do under normal circumstances. Finally,
after God knows how long, I could faintly make out a structure in the distance. It was the cabin. I felt a twinge of hope. The wails continued to ring out on the night air, but I seemed to have a lead on them at the time.
Okay, we're gonna need to finish here. We only have 1 minute left. So this is what we do now. Overview crappy pastas. So we can't finish now. We might do just a part 2, but
this is actually not bad.
Yeah, we just created this account with an inspiration. Please don't judge us. Give a like if you can. Please subscribe if you feel like it. We just really have hope in this channel because nobody's done it before. But it's just we'll try to make a part 2 for this. All I have to say is that this was very creepy, but I feel like it was terrible because everybody was an idiot to go on a 57-mile hike. Do you agree, Anthony?
Yes, I.
Good. Well, I think that's all we have. See you later, guys.